stand up. Now, this is what the simple assignment is that I have for you. I'm going to read a statement. Come up here, please. I'm going to read a statement. If you agree with that statement, I want you to move to this side of the room. If you disagree with this statement, I want you to come on this side of the room. Y'all got me?
Yeah.
All right, so, and if you're neutral, I want you to stay right in the middle. Y'all got me?
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look and see what these values look like. Ready? Remember, if you disagree with it, go to that side. You disagree this side, agree, go to that side. Now, let me tell you, you husbands and fiancés everywhere in the room, if your partner decides to go in a different direction, don't persuade them because we wedded at the hip or we've been married 50 years so I don't have to complete the stickers because my wife's going to do the stickers for me. Y'all got me?
Yeah.
All right, here's the first statement. Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Remember, if you agree, come over here. A man that cries easily is weak. A man that cries easily is weak. If you agree, go to that side of the room. You disagree, come over there. Let's move. A man that cries easily is weak. You disagree? Come on, y'all. Let's make it happen. You neutral, stay in the middle. A man that cries easily is weak. Oh, take a look at this, PB. A man that cries easily is weak. Oh, you people over there disagree, but we got some people over here who kind of agree. Now, I'm going to come over here and stand with these guys, not necessarily because I agree with them, but I'm going to come over here to the fact that they took a stand in a room. And I have been known to be the only one right in a room full of wrong people, but I've also been known to be the only one wrong in a room full of right people. Okay. So let's just start over here. I said a man that cries easily is weak. Why do you agree with that?
You didn't state what the purpose of the crime was. And because I don't know what he's crying for, then I can't say whether he's weak.
Now if you hear something that somebody say they want to move you, the doors of the Agreement Church are now open. Y'all got me? All right. So you came over here, you said a man that cries easily is weak. You agree? Why do you agree? Because he's sensitive and emotional. Okay. You guys, now these are some young men here. Y'all take a look at these young brothers over here. Now they took a stand and they said, yeah, man that cries easily is weak. Why do y'all agree with that?
As a man, you should be crying easily.
Just as a man, you shouldn't be just crying easily. Why do you agree with that?
Sensitive men cry.
Sensitive men cry. Now, I'm going to come over here because y'all disagree with that. Right? Y'all sitting over here and disagree. Now, why do you disagree with that, sir?
Because I cry sometimes.
Okay. All right, because he cries sometimes. And why do you disagree then?
Because, like you said, I cry sometimes. And crying does not necessarily mean you're weak. You don't mean you're weak when you cry. I mean, it's an emotion. And you get in emotion, it's dear to your heart. You know, you're going to cry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I understand. I was watching Color Purple. Y'all know the end of Color Purple? They quote me. I mean, I wasn't a punk, but I'm going to tell you, that was you know what you're neutral. Why are you neutral, Diddy?
Because I don't think you need to be crying too much. Get up, keep it moving, so you can cry a little bit. Just a crying man all the time. All the time. Oh, no. All the time.
Oh, y'all got it? Okay. Hold on. Everybody move towards the middle. I got one more for you. Y'all ready? Now, I like the way all y'all took that stance. Now, we got to move. I got another question for you. Here we go. Here we go. Here's the first question. Men should always pay for the first date. Men should always pay for the first date. If you agree, come over here. If you disagree, come over there. Men should always pay for the first date. Come on in. Don't persuade your mate. Just take a stand. Men should always pay for the first date. All right, come on, y'all. Gotta move. Look at all you need middle people. Come on now. I can't put that up. Men should always pay for the first date. Now, y'all over here, it's a given. If we got a date, men should pay for the first date. Y'all right? All right, y'all sure? Why is that?
traditional. It is hurting to understand. I've always been taught that you set the precedent and that you are the dictator of how that relationship will follow.
That's powerful, boy. But give her a hand now. I love all that. Somebody gonna disagree a little bit with you, but I love it. I said, bitch, now why is that? Right? Where are you at? Now why are you over here? Why do you disagree with the notion that men should pay for the first date?
I don't know, like, say right here, if a woman is interested in a man, she wants to ask him out.
Oh, you hear that? If a woman's interested in a man, she asking out, she should pay for the first date. Why do you disagree with that?
Oh, you took my actually the same thing. That in reality there should be even stakes in the game. If she invites me out, then she should treat.
So if she invited me out, she should treat. Where are neutral people at? Y'all neutral? Why are you neutral? Why is that?
Because what if the man's broke?
Oh, what if he's broke? Yeah. All y'all in the room, we look at somebody, keep it real. Now, ladies, let me explain what that looks like. He's fine, but he broke. He got a body, but he broke. Y'all with me? He's smart, educated, fine, and got a body, but he broke. Yeah, see, you say, I can do something with that. I can do something with that. We got some other people over here who disagree. Let me see who disagrees. Why do you agree that men should pay for the first date?
Because I feel that it is in order and lead and determine how this relationship will go.
Y'all hear that? That's powerful. That's powerful. Y'all see how this thing's working? Y'all get the hang of it? Now, they move towards the middle. I got one last one. These are some interesting values. I see you neutral people. Here's this question. Y'all ready? Here's this last question, you neutral folks. Now, where's my neutral sign? Now, on this one, there is no neutral. That means you're going to have to take a stand. Because some of y'all been hanging out in neutral and you got grass growing on your feet. All right, here's the question. Birth control is primarily the woman's responsibility. Birth control is primarily the woman's responsibility. Birth control is primarily the woman's responsibility. Oh yeah, keep on moving. Birth control is primarily the woman's responsibility. Woo! Look at this. What? Is this what Moses did? How he parted? You think he just stood up and said, birth control is primarily the woman's responsibility? Everything just. Now we got some people over here. Now y'all take a look at this because I know y'all want to kind of really hear this, right? Y'all got to hear this. Birth control is primarily the woman's responsibility. Why do you agree?
I teach my daughter the greatest birth control is to say no. And so I expect her to be abstinent, to keep her modesty, to wait till she's married. And so the greatest birth control, in my opinion, is to say no, that she can control that.
Woo! Now, if any of y'all heard something that make you want to move, you move, because that was kind of powerful. Why are you over here? Why do you agree?
I think that the woman holds the power in intimate relationships, and I think if more women said no, there would be less kids born out of wedlock. I do think that when a woman has a child, she does become the primary caregiver, the primary responsible party, so I do think it is her responsibility to, as far as birth control.
Woo, that's powerful. Now, thank you very much. Now, nobody move. Stay where you are. I got one last question I'm going to read, and then you take your stance on this one last question that I'm going to read. Y'all ready for this one last question? Men have just as much say-so as the women as to whether or not they should keep the child. The woman is pregnant. The man has just as much say-so as the woman as to whether or not they should keep that child or have an abortion. The man has just as much say-so. If you agree, if the man has just as much say-so as the woman as to whether or not they should keep the child, then you come over there. If you don't believe that, stay over there. Come on, men have just as much say-so. Men have, yeah, come on, let's keep it moving. Keep it moving. That's the last question. There is no neutral. I removed that neutral. I appreciate you, but I don't have a neutral. You can't be spring break. So there's no issue. Let's make it happen. Men have just as much say so as the women. This is how we move this restoration. Now, I'm going to end it on that. Because what was the last question I asked before this one? About the birth control, right? And then what happens with this one? So let me show you how that dynamic works. That means we one-on-one, we got just as much say so, oops, she's pregnant. Now what? Ooh, split. And guess what? That's where the dynamic plays out. Everybody take a seat. Give yourselves a hand. So that's the amazing thing. Give yourself another hand. I told you, not sit still. The most amazing thing about these values and these experiences that we've undergone is that we realize that because of slavery, it had a great impact on us as families. There were a lot of values that we actually lost. There were a lot of values. Can I get you all to pull those signs out of the wall for me, please? There are a lot of values that we lost because of that. And it is why one of my favorite paintings that I've seen here is by Eastman Johnson. It's called The Ride to Liberty. Now let me tell you why I love The Ride to Liberty. Because this is at the end of the war. And so what we found out, contrary to popular belief, that the black family was lost or a tangled web of pathology because of slavery, let me tell you what happened right at the end of slavery. You had fathers who began to mount up their horses. They were traveling from plantation to plantation to find their families. So that meant soon as the opportunity came, Daddy jumped on and found his wife. And then they went and traveled and found the children. And then they went and traveled and found the other, and they continued to head. Now imagine, if you will, if the fathers were to mount up on the bark or the martyr and start going from project to project or community to community, reclaiming what? The black family. And this is a powerful, because which way is Daddy looking? He's looking ahead. Where's Mother looking? She's looking back. And where's the child looking? Right towards the ground. That means they're looking at the past, the present, and the future. But most importantly, they're all on the same horse moving in the same direction. So that means even as this depicts, we are going to have some differences and see things differently. But when the black family continues to move still in the same direction, it is possible to have differences of opinions. It is possible to see things in the present or the past or looking ahead and still value the family. Does that make sense to you all? This is what we understand about the family. Now, we got a quick assignment we're going to do. There's something I have called the family tree. I'm going to sit these symbols right there in the middle of the floor. We have something called the family tree. We got a handout that we're going to give. Thank you. Can you all help me pass out those at the end like that? We have a handout we're going to give. If you got a pen or pencil, pull out the pen and pencil. Pull out the pen and pencil. You're going to get a handout, and you're going to see a handout, and it's going to have a tree. This is what your simple assignment is. Very quickly, whether you're with someone, a family, if you got a pen, something to write with, you may not need anything to write with. But here's what I want you to do. You see this right here? That is you. To the left is the father. To the right is the mother. So if this is you and this is the father, when I go up one, that's the grandfather, and that's the grandmother on the father's side. Go up one more, that's the grandfather and the grandfather. Y'all got it? So this is what I want you all to do. I want you to take a moment very quickly and see how far up this tree you can fill out. That means here's you, here's the father, and there's the mother. It's time to travel from plantation to plantation, but we need to begin in our restoration process to understand where our family stands. So take a look at this. Right there is you. To the left is the father. To the right is the mother. And you go up on both sides. Y'all look at it. Can anybody go all the way up? Who can go to the second level? Who knows their mother and their father? Raise your hand. hand? Raise your hand. Okay, put your hands down. Let's start with the mother's side. Who knows your grandfather and grandmother on your mother's side? Put your hands down. Who knows your grandfather and grandmother on your father's side? All right, okay. And you'll notice it thins out on the father's side. Let's go up one more here. Let's take a look at the great-grandparents. The great-grandparents. These are your parents and your grandparents. Let's start with the great-grandparents. Who can name their great-grandparents? That's all the way at the top. The great-grandparents on your mother's side. And who can name the great-grandparents on their father's side? You all take a look at the room. Look around. Keep your hands up. Now put your hands down. Now let me do it again. Who can name the great-grandparents on your mother's side? Raise your hand. Now you all will notice that there are more hands on the mother's side. So that means, put your hands down. That means as we climb that family tree, even in this study here, we see as we climb that family tree, we know what's going on our mother's side, but there is a disconnect on the father's side. So who can go all the way across the top? Somebody who can go all the way across the top? All the way across the top? You got it? All right, stand up. What's your name, sir? Okay, Jabari, you ready? All right, Jabari. Let's start there. Who was that?
That's fine. Just me, sir.
I think you got it wrong. That's you. All right, ready? Let's try it again.
That's my mom. Dave Johnson.
Okay, let's go here. What's your grandparents' name?
Logan Johnson. Dave Johnson.
Okay, let's go up here. Who's this?
And that would be Richmond Tyson.
Okay, here.
Joe Tyson.
Who's this?
That would be Jake Tyson. This Tyson.
Okay, what about the cross on your father's side? Who's that? All the way top.
That would be
Great grandfather.
W. Howard. Howard was her boy.
To here?
That would be
Let's give him a hand, everybody. You know, one of the things I'm going to tell you that is amazing about the black family, and that is as we climb the family tree, the names will change. We will then go from nicknames. Because see, when I get up here, I'm going to start talking about Big Mama and Big Daddy. Over here, that's Mama Patient and Papa Frank. Y'all with me? So we understand and we see how we begin to process that. Now, what I want you to do in terms of your restoration, I want you to go home, take that home, take the time to fill it out. If you don't know, then you need to ask. But turn that around on the other side. The other thing I want you to do as your take home, I want you to rank your relationship with those family members. And I want you to ask your child to rank their relationship from 0, I don't know my dad, to a poor relationship, 1. You with me? So you take the opportunity. So that's your walkaway. That's your restoration. Your first restoration homework is to take the time to complete that family tree and then to rank it. Now, anyone you give a 0 or a 1 to, what that means is that there's some work that you need to do. It's that simple. So that when we get to a funeral, we don't fall out of guilt. Does that make sense? Because that's when we do it right here. That's when we do it, right? I'm sorry! Daddy, let me go! That's what we do right here. Because we didn't do what we were supposed to do when the flowers were still growing. So you get it right. Now I'm going to tell you why it's equally as important. The reason why those hands got thinner as we began to climb is because if you stop passing on the information to your children, when they become adults, they won't know. So there's a reason why your children don't know their grandparents or their great-grandparents, because you did not pass the knowledge. So the restoration movement begins by understanding that process, because there are all types of families. We see those dynamics. Some of us were raised with brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles. And so that's what you all discovered when we did this activity. We asked the question here, hold this up. We asked the question, we asked the question here when we held it up. We asked this simple question. We asked this question, how many brothers and sisters do you have? A good number of you said 1 to 2, 3 to 4. Some of you had 6 or more. Did you grow up with your brothers and sisters? A lot of you said, yes, I did. Do you all have the same mother and father? And look at this. Just as many of you said no as you did yes. This is an interesting family dynamics because there are changes. Put that down. Thank you very much. Now, take a look at this. Now, this is a very, very interesting one. I ask, in understanding these values and these relationships, I ask, people should live together before they get married. And just as many of y'all said no, as y'all said yes. And then I turned around and said, most men only want one thing. And a lot of y'all said, that's a lie, but a lot of y'all said, no, I'm going to keep it real, yeah. Most of them do. But then I said, most women prefer men with money. Where that young man who told the truth right here in the front? Right? So look at that. A lot of you said, yes, most women prefer men with money. And then can men and women just be friends? Y'all said, yes, we can. And do you know someone in a domestic violence relationship? Look at that dynamic. A lot of you are saying, yes, I do know someone in a domestic violence relationship. You all with me? Is this making sense? This is the story that you are telling in front of me. The story that you are telling in front of me. Now, this is interesting. Let's talk about our parents. Now, I really want you all to pay attention to this one. Let's talk about our parents. I asked, tell me about your parents' marital status. A good number of you said, just as many of you said my parents were never married, as many of you did say, yes, they were. And then I said, how would you describe your parents' relationship? Most of you said mostly positive and mostly negative. But then I asked a simple question. I said, do you want a relationship like your parents? Remember, a good number of you said mostly positive. But then I said, well, do you want a relationship like your mother and father? And you told me, no, I don't. Some of you, good number, said yes. Some said maybe. The majority said, well, it's a positive relationship. But I don't want a relationship like my mom and dad. Right? So there's a story or disconnection that begins to happen. And so that's why we understand that. So that's why we conclude by understanding who is in the room. A good majority of you are over 43 years old. Good number of you have more than 4 siblings. And a good number of you, or the majority of you, said never married. Now, what I like particularly about this one here, that there should be really equally number of dots on all of them. But when I asked y'all still married, some of y'all just didn't even put the dot up there. I don't even want to, no, I don't know. We ain't got the divorce yet. I ain't seen it too much, so I don't know. I don't know where that one is. Go hold on for that one for 1 second. So that's what we begin to see in understanding these family dynamics and how they play out in our relationships. Now, these relationships are also carried out in the media. The media images, and what does it teach and dictate to us about the family? Because, you know, we really copy a lot of what we see. Who knows some of these shows here that we're looking at? Take a look at some of the families of back in the day in the 70s, and what was the music and the songs about, and how did they describe the black family in the 70s and 80s? Who knows what show that is? Family what? One more time, families what? Family Matters, absolutely. That was the name of it, regardless of their status. It said Family Matters. It told the story, and what was that one? What is it again? 227. They all live in this apartment complex. But now look at this dynamic now. Who is that? The daddy, the mama, the grandparents, there's that blended family. All in there. Family Matters. Even in room 227 as they live together. And who knows what that is? Now think about the show Good Times. There was something positive and powerful about this show Good Times. It was in the music. Y'all remember the song Good Times? Y'all remember the story it told? Think about Good Times. What did it say? Just looking out of the window. Help me out. Watching the asphalt roll. Come on. Thinking how it all looks hand me down. Good. Here we go. point where they found themselves having some level of success. And so Daddy, who worked in that dry cleaner, finally was able to pay it off. And now he said, baby, I'm going to own one. She said, are you sure, baby, I got it? And they did it. He bought one, and he bought another one. And so this was the name of the family. And when you start looking at the Jeffersons, once he bought that dry cleaning business and that franchise, he was ready. And he put his wife in the car, and they had everything packed up, and they was ready to go, right? And when they was ready to go, there was a song. They said, oh, well, we're moving on up. Come on. You the east side. Come on, y'all. You will leave us some harvest in the sky. Moving on up to the east side. Here we go. We finally got a piece of the pie. Now you're going to tell the story. Fish don't fry. Come on. Beans don't burn on the grill. Come on. Took a whole lot of trying just to get up that hill. Here we go. But now we are up in the big leagues. Come on. Getting out there that back. What you say? As long as we live, you and me, baby, there ain't nothing wrong with that. But we're moving on up. Give me some hands. So there was a meeting and a purpose behind the shows as a black family. So they understood through trials and tribulations, we got it together and we worked on it. We understood that restoration process. And then as we began to move a little bit further into the 90s, we understood that some of us had some children who didn't behave the way they're supposed to. And sometimes we understood that you needed to send them kids away. And so when this one got in trouble, Mama took the stand and she told him. And so how did that song break out? In West Philadelphia, born and raised on the playground is where I spend most of my days. Come on. This song is a song in my neighborhood. I got a one-minute song. She said the movie in the eyes is up in the Bel Air. Come on. Come on. Don't be out there. Come on.
Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
Jimmy Silverhead, absolutely. We understood that he was the first Prince of Bel Air, but Mama sent that son to that uncle who said, I got him. That's restoration. That everyone, hardly any black folks in America grew up with just a family. Watch this. How many of you in the course of your life had someone in your family come move in with y'all or y'all moved in with someone? Keep your hands up. Everyone look around. Look around. Look around. Put your hands down. That's the nature of the black family. These are the values that we don't always get. And the media doesn't understand it, but it is coded. We understood that if there's a problem, I'm going to send you away to stay with your aunt and uncle. And he'll get you straight. Or auntie will get you straight. We understood those as values. But now when we reach the 80s, something happened. And all that great work, the Cosby Show broke loose. But now, here's what I don't understand. And I got a psychologist, Dr. Chris Bass, in the room, and so I talked with him about this piece here, but why was it that we as African Americans, this was not white America in this debate, this was black America in this debate. What was the problem that we would say that we had with the Cosby Show? What was the problem? It wasn't real, right? Why wasn't it real? It was a doctor and lawyer, two doctors in the house. It wasn't real. We wasn't buying it. What about the discipline in the house? We wouldn't take it. Oh no, because I beat my child. But we understand what it looks like with educated people in the room. So we don't treat that as a myth, but the challenge is that we will make ourselves believe that this is a misnomer. But I see two doctors in the house right now. I see four doctors in the house, husband and wives. In the house. Dr. Bass, y'all don't exist. You all are a myth. You ain't real. Those two kids, y'all ain't real. What? We don't exist. We are a myth. That's how we make ourselves believe, and then we buy into it. and whether or not it was existent or real. But it's important for you to understand that all of these dynamics of the black families in terms of the media and the images, what it conveyed, that meant for a short period of time, there was some social responsibility associated with the black family and how, Reverend, it is portrayed on television. But then it changed a little bit. And so we recognize those are some problems. We'll have to get to some of those issues. But you know, I'm going to tell you, we have to map the family. We have to understand that dynamic of that family. We have to begin to do some work to understand it. Now, there's something that we do as clinicians a lot of times when we meet a family for the first time, and we have to kind of understand some of the family patterns that exist. And one of the things we do is something called the genealogram, where we connect the family tree and look at those relationships and dynamics, and it identifies some of the patterns, because believe it or not, some of the behaviors that you engage in your present relationship were inherited from what you saw, not what your parents said, but what you saw. That's what that dynamic was on here when it said, yes, my parents had a great relationship, but I wouldn't want one like them. So the family tree is designed to help us connect. Now, I'm going to give y'all a quick tutorial on the family tree. In a genealogram, whenever you see a square, that means a man. Whenever you see a circle, that means a woman. So when you got a man and a woman together, and they're connected like that, that's called married, because the lines are solid. Y'all with me? Yeah. So when you keep on going and looking at the family tree then, that's living together. That means they love together, but the lines are dotted, like blurred lines. So that means they're living together, but they're not married. Y'all with me? Yeah. Basic components of the genealogram. So we look at that there now. When you have some problems, and they're married, and you got a hash through the line, what does that mean? Separate. Y'all see the logic how the genealogram work, right? So then when you take a look at it, and you got two lines, what does that mean? They're absolutely divorced. Y'all with me? Yeah. So this is the basic elements of a family tree when we begin to look at them and understand that someone can be dead, someone can be pregnant, someone can have a drug problem, or suffering from abuse. All these are some fundamental elements that go with a family tree. Why am I doing that? Because I'm getting ready to bring a family tree to life right before your eyes. Take a look at this here. You got a man and you got a woman. That man and the woman have got together. Were they married? No. And they had a boy or girl? They had a girl. Y'all with me, right? Yeah. Now, when you look at that man, that child is 20, but then the man gets married, right? But he has a child over there from that woman. Y'all with me? Yeah. So they get together. Now they have a little what? They have a boy. So now that child is 20 years later, that son is 18. Y'all with me? Oh, y'all going to see what happened to the black family very quickly. Watch this. So now they have another child, right? So that was 18 and 14. Y'all with me? Everything's going good, right? That family growing is positive, right? Uh-oh, what happened? Y'all better pay attention to some of the stuff up there. What happened? Oh, shoot. Keep paying attention where the circle comes up. Oh, Lord, what's happening now? They did what? Oh, Lord, they didn't have another child. They didn't have one outside. Now, this is not just my story, but, this is on y'all's story, too. I know because you can put it on the stickers. I saw it, right? That's why we give the stickers first, right? So what happened to that marriage? They got separated, but people still try to work it out because, we try to work it out. So what happened? They separate, but then they do what? They have another child. They have a boy or a girl. Oh man, y'all are some excellent clinicians already, right? So they working it out. They got another child and they doing it, and mama, and they getting it all for oh shoot, what can happen up there? What's going on, y'all? Giddy, right? That's the whole thing, right? So what did mama do? Oh, Lord, she didn't have another child. Oh, that's right. She ain't the only one that can dance after dark, right? Y'all see how this is working, right? This is the black family coming to life. So there's some restoration work I'm telling you to take place. Now take a look at this 5 years later, right? So now look at these ages, 25 and 20 and 23 and 19, right? Then 5 years later, take a look at this. Now, Daddy, and all that extra activity, Daddy developed a drug problem. Well, you know that can happen. Stress will do that to you, right? All right, so Daddy developed a drug problem. So did that 20-year-old, suspected of having a drug problem. Right? So that son, that daughter over there, she didn't have a child. How many? Not one, but a what? She didn't have two. Oh, y'all understanding this, right? This is Black family restoration. You got to understand that 20-year-old did what? Woo! You know what? I didn't even give you that theory. You saw that, right? That's one line broken apart. That's called twins. Two are paying right there. Twins right there. She didn't have twins, right? But they were married, though. Well, they was. They separated, right? And so that other child got pregnant. And so these become the basic elements of a family tree when it comes to life. This is why you have to have those discussions and dialogues with the family, because you got to make sense of this. You got to make sense of this. So we move to understand these different elements. So when it comes to that family tree, I'm telling you the lessons learned. We have to understand the family patterns and new discoveries. We have to also ask some difficult questions in terms of understanding the family. This is the restoration work. And I'm going to tell you, the dating game, when you get into it, how does it happen? We understand. Something has happened over the years with regard to the Black family and even the courting. So we call it the deinstitutionalized courtship. The notion that there's no common end norms now. People are just hooking up, shacking up, hitting it up, it's going on. Well, some are seeking multiple partners, some are romantically involved, and some people even marry man. But when you have two different concepts in that relationship, where he had proposed to her, and she said, oh my God, this is more serious than I thought. Sometimes it's just that good, you got to buy him a ring. But you're in a different place. So we have to understand these notions and the images in terms of the Black family. We get to the point, because of the deinstitutionalizing, the mating, the courtship, that we find it popular. All our babies' mamas. Wow. Now someone can take that Africa and say, well, you know, in Africa, you know, the man had multiple wives, and that was the end. I said, you know, it is, but in Africa too, he took care of all of them. You with me? So we have to understand that. There has been changes over time in understanding the relationship and even the images that we're seeing on TV of the Black woman and of the Black man, and once begin to communicate. And there's a theme that resonates now on television that portrays women as being angry and mad Black women, and is portraying men as being thugs, or I gotta have me a roughneck. And these are the images in 2013. So now we say it's Real Housewives of Atlanta. These are the images of what we're saying about our Black women. And we take a look at Gossip Girl. These are the images of what's being communicated to us in 2013. Take a look at it. Now, this was most amazing, because even in our Black bourgeoisie, you know, those doctors, we said, oh, there's some crazy Black women that are married to doctors too. Let's make a show about it. Married to medicine. Because we don't police the media and television, we have license and privileges have been taken to prostitute and deinstitutionalize and bastardize the Black family. So this is why we look at this here. We try to understand some of the dating issues. Well, one of the things that I come to basically realize, that in the crisis in Black sexual politics, we see nowadays that men, and we teach our boys this, and society tells us, the boy, you'll go have much sex as you can. Now, the way you're going to get that is that the more money you got, then the more money you have, that's what that teaches you. The more money you got, the more what? The more sex. That's the communication that's being sent. And so we tell the women, you know, you need to dress scant. You need to be thinly clad, because the sexier you are and the more appealing you're going to get, then you're going to get more money. And that's the politics and the interplay. This poses challenges. Because what happens is that when a woman meets a young man who was raised right, there you go, and they enter this realm, then he's lost. Or a man comes across. So it's very interesting. I have to explain. You really think about it. We're raising daughters. And I will protect her. I tell people I got all the degrees in education. I'm the most educated, and as about as educated as you're going to get. I'm intelligent, okay, all these things here. But when it comes to my daughter, I will have what is called a relapse. I am, and I have no problem with telling people that I have been in recovery for 19 years.